Okay, it's done.
All
You can
right.
go ahead.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to the afternoon. This afternoon's webinar on really GitHub in action is what we're calling it, GitHub Copilot in action. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward here. This is really meant to be a bit of a journey, but before I get too far, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Randy. I'm a principal trainer here at Xebia. I build content, deliver a lot of trainings, and working closely with Microsoft and GitHub and our customers and our Xebia team for all the things we can do here. So today's backdrop is, oh, by the way, I'm based out of north of Detroit, Michigan, and I've been at Xebia about 2.5 years now. So, and to save some bandwidth, I'm going to get started. I'm going to turn off my camera here and save a little bit of that. So let's go like that. All right. So today's backdrop really is about Gino's Gelato shop hitting some growth pains. So I thought it'd be a whimsical, fun time to talk about GitHub Copilot and how he keeps his business and his code running smoothly. So let's get started. Quick plan for today. Again, quick intro for Xebia, quick intro for GitHub Copilot. I'll walk through a few of that. Why prompting is so darn important as well. As far as right context and quality, guardrails, etc. And then I'll spend more time, a lot of time probably on the live demos as well. So keep that in mind. Very quick about Xebia. We build digital leaders on the Microsoft stack. So we strongly focus on GitHub, Azure, and modern DevOps. So everything you'll see today comes from real work that we do with our customers every day. So just some quick vocabulary we use in the AI world. OpenAI, of course, that's the research organization behind many of the modern AI models we use. ChatGPT is a conversational AI assist, so to speak, that runs on OpenAI as well. So we can generate natural languages there. Prompts, of course, are what we actually type and input. And more importantly, prompt engineering is all about how we craft the prompts themselves. And then when we submit prompts, we get completions back. And completions are what we are going to be, of course, using in our prompts, et cetera here. And then, of course, LLMs, another 3-letter acronym, large language models. So there's a lot of those out there as well. Just to highlight some large language models in use using GitHub Copilot today. I'm a big fan of the Claude Sonnet 4.x family of brands. There's also GPT-5. 5s are one of the newest and more strongest models for bigger context windows and better reasoning. If we look at the highlight here in red, I'm highlighting this specifically because GPT 4.1 and 0, which is, it's really fast. It's also, we'll talk more about premium requests, but it's also free, so you can use as many times as you like. The max content window is pretty important too, that second column from the right. So we want to make sure what that is basically is the maximum number of tokens it can process at once, so per conversation or per session, so to speak. And then there's multimodal capabilities. You'll notice the third column from the right there. And AI Assist can actually process more than just text. So multimodal means ability to work with multiple types of input, whether it's text, images, code, documents, audio, video, you name it. So that comes in quite handy as well. If you want to know more, there's a URL at the very bottom there. So what is GitHub Copilot? Very onslaught here. Won't read the slide here, but in a nutshell, GitHub Copilot really is your AI assist. It's your AI accelerator, coding assistant. It gives you real-time context-aware suggestions across many languages and IDEs. And now, even better with agent mode, can really you can use it to assign work and handle what you say, and you're the pilot of the pilot seat, and Copilot is there to assist. I personally use GitHub Copilot all the time with agents. I treat GitHub Copilot like a teammate. So think of an AI teammate, an autonomous pair programmer, if you will, to work with me on different projects. The differences here in a nutshell, we've all probably used these different tools here. The ChatGPT sits outside of the IDE. It runs in a browser. When you're done with that experience of that conversation, you have to copy, paste things basically in and out of it. The nice thing about GitHub Copilot, it lives in the editor. So no matter what editor you're using or however you work, could be command line as well, but it understands context from all the different open files, your selections, errors, picks, different coding style. And that's really important to stay heads down on that. Just to touch on licensing, there's a lot of different licenses that's out there. There's free, there's pro, there's for individual developers, but really the pivotal point is when Copilot being used on a team for teams, we look at the Copilot business license, which is on the right. Also, the arrow with the finger is pointing to the number of premium requests. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. And then there's a URL at the bottom as well. If you really wanted to go check it out a little more, you could actually come in here and go to the feature plans. What's nice about this page, it shows that different licensing options for individuals and what's included. So if you're looking at an individual, let's say Pro, we can scroll down and you can see the different checks marks on which capabilities are found where. So it's really, really easy for the decision-making process there. The supported IDEs are there's many out there. I will say this, the latest, greatest bleeding edge features are released to GitHub Copilot in VS Code first. There's a lot of releases here. I do a lot of demos, a lot of trainings, and I just open up the IDE. Sometimes there's new releases all the time. So it's always fun and interesting watching AI evolve like that. The Visual Studio team in Microsoft is on a 3-week sprint for Visual Studio. So what's nice about that is you'll get updates no later than 3 weeks if you're using Visual Studio Pro or Enterprise. And the nice thing also is GitHub Copilot is baked into the IDE. So it's at build time. It's not an extension. It's not a plugin in Visual Studio. It's just there. The third, probably the tool to get the most updates would be the IntelliJ out of JetBrains. And then it goes downhill from there as far as timing goes. But if you're a NeoVim, Eclipse, or Xcode user, there's some. If you're working with data, you can use SQL Server Management Studio as well. So Copilot is becoming in many, many different places. A word about premium requests you will find or see. I will show you on the right-hand column of the model selection, large language model selection. You'll see that the X category, so like 1X. So depending on which model you pick, that means and also what license you have, will allow you to know how many times you can call that model. Again, it's a premium model, so you're going to pay the tax on that, which is a 1X in this particular example. So if I'm a business user, I have 300 of these requests per month. I can call that Claude Sonnet 4.5, 300 times. On the right, I can monitor how many requests I've made for that month as well. The nice thing is these reset at the first of the month, reset back to 0. So that's the good also. And who doesn't like a discount? At the very top, you could pick the auto 10% discount. So every 10 calls, you get one free. Basically, if you allow GitHub to pick the model for you, and it's based on the selection you make. It's actually GitHub Copilot will analyze the prompt you submit and determine which model you use. And as far as monthly budgets go, there's always at an org level, you can release or not have a cap on that, and it comes out to about 4 cents a request. So get asked a lot of questions about premium requests. What I want to show you now is how this actually works under the hood. As I mentioned, Copilot's all about context, and the whole idea is, in this example, context is one of the tabs of code I have open. Even more so, I have specific lines maybe highlighted. I might have additional tabs open. I might include files or images or pictures, and the whole idea with the GitHub Copilot extension is to assemble that for context. And of course, it's assembling code. It's assembling context to send over to the large language model where it will do its lookup and come up with the next prediction. Now, before it goes to the large language models, which run in an Azure data center, it has to go through a proxy service. And the whole point of the proxy service is to test for toxic language, bad language, things like that. Make sure it's relevant to code. So I can't ask it how the latest, greatest Avatar movie is. I have to stay relevant within the code itself. Unique identifiers are stripped out. So PII data, for instance, email addresses, phone numbers, birthdays, credit card numbers, social security numbers, things like that. And when it gets through that proxy service, it will go through and submit the prompt. Of course, it gets converted into tokens, and what we get back out of the data center is a completion. Very important takeaway here, that context that was created, the prompt, the code, you name it, gets sent into trash. It's deleted at the data center level. So it's never saved or used to train the next version of the model. GitHub does not retain any of that information. What comes back out of the data center is the completions you're looking for. That completion also has to go back through a proxy service before you see it. And the point of that is, of course, very similar reasons. There's a lot of these large language models are built on a large amount of data in the world, tens of millions of public repos, public information, Wikipedia, Stack Overflow, Reddit, you name it, it's all public information it's built on. So chances are there's some possible toxic language and some unique identifiers out there, like secrets and things like that. So those things are stripped out as well before you see them. Also, code quality is really important. So this uses a similar approach algorithm for looking at, for instance, like GitHub Advanced Security. So it's looking for coding patterns. And the idea here is that coding pattern that would be vulnerable for hackers to find would not be presented back to you in your IDE. That's important to know as well. So code quality is important. That is a very strong SLA that GitHub has with the customers. Once you eventually get through all that, your code will show up as called ghosted text here, of course. And ghosted text is where we can either accept it, I can tab forward. There's some hotkeys. I can look at the other completions of, as a developer, I have choice. I may not like that particular function or that code. I can actually change it as well. And that's the sort of things we're going to actually walk through. Again, GitHub takes security and trust very seriously. There is a trust center they created, lower left corner. This is full of blog posts and videos as well. I've read that top to bottom, bottom to top, and the 4 takeaways are this. Code customer data, very important. Your prompts, your suggestions, they're not used in the training models, as I mentioned when I walked through that. Secure development is also very important. So these prompts and suggestions are filtered for security issues, and any PII data should not exist. GitHub does collect they call it user interaction data for about 2 years. And that is not personal data, it's just user interaction data, such as IDEs used, languages used, how many prompts are sent, how many completions come back. Now, GitHub has recently, well, I'll say recently, probably 4 or 5 months ago, created a very nice dashboard, Copilot usage dashboard at the org level and enterprise level in your github.com. The intellectual property protection is also a setting. Where I work at Xebia, that's set. So what that means basically is there could be code snippets or code that has special MIT licenses or special copyrights. And it's based on 150 characters or more. If it comes out that it is protected, but it's public, you'll get a nice message that says, sorry, your response can't match, please try again. My suggestion is always just change the prompt up a little bit and give that another go here. Some quick ask mode features. We'll talk about that, more modes in a minute. The first pillar, if you just type in the ampersand, the @ sign, you'll be presented with different options you have here. Think of these as specialized agents that are helping you, assisting you with collecting context is the idea here. So most popular that I use would be @workspace. @workspace can comb through my entire repo to come up with the context that I'm looking for. The center one is the / commands. These are shortcut keys. If I don't want to type out an entire prompt, I could just use shortcut keys. I could highlight code, shortcut /tests, or hey /explain, or it's broken /fix. Again, quick shortcut keys. And then the third one is the chat variables. This is how we can add additional context into our prompts. So through variables, so hashtags, #, file name is a pretty popular one. I could say hashtag codebase 2 as well and look through all the different code that's out there. So these are part of prompting. So Copilot basically has settled at the moment for having three modes, which helps us streamline our development. So if you look at the ask, the very first one is great for conversational explanations. It's great to have the teammate, the AI teammate to talk to, ask questions for, ask different thoughts there as well. And then there's the plan mode all the way on the right-hand side. If you're architecting a new feature, creating a new project, or road mapping something and you want some structure to it, you can go to plan mode and have this nice conversation and adjust the plan as you go. When it comes time to commit that plan, I can go switch over to agent mode. And agent mode is, think again, an autonomous pair programmer. I can assign things to agent mode, and agent mode will break things down step by step and start running through guidance and actually coordinating itself. And one thing I like about agent mode too, it'll do the work and self-correct itself, or I'll say heal itself. I'll say fix itself is what I meant to say. So moving forward, prompt engineering is an important concept. So I want to cover that just a couple minutes. In a nutshell, this is all about the process of creating these high quality prompts that you can use to generate useful suggestions. It's important to be not vague, but it's also important to not be too verbose on your prompts. So we'll walk through an example that is related to what I'm going to be demoing here in a minute. And the takeaway from this one slide is the less that the model has to guess at what you want, the more likely you'll get it and be satisfied and happy with what it is. Two concepts in prompt engineering. One's called the zero-shot prompt. So this is the classic zero shot, right? We simply ask the AI to create, in this example, to create a C# model for this customer loyalty property and basically giving it no other guidance whatsoever. Now, sometimes this will work. Sometimes it depends on the large language model you selected, but the model does have to guess a lot because we didn't tell it anything else. So it doesn't know, doesn't know about coding patterns or what fields I want or maybe I expect. So, and whether I want the output structure or not. I mean, this is as vague as you can get. So even though zero-shot prompts will work quickly, they will definitely lead to inconsistent results or things you may not like. And the takeaway here is if you use zero-shot prompting and very vague, the model relies entirely on whatever training it has, as well as the training date. So let's look at a better approach, a more structured approach. A lot of people are starting to use AI is basically trying to type a quick question and hoping for a best result. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's too vague, sometimes AI lacks direction. So if you think about a strong prompt, it includes a few simple elements and that help guide the model. We can think of these prompts in five parts: the role, task, context, format, and the constraints. So the role sets the perspective. Obviously, the task defines what you want done. And providing context gives AI the background and examples you might need. And of course, the format controls how the answer is returned. How do we want to see it? And then any constraints you might have, rules, limitations, things like that. So when you include all these different pieces, AI has a much clearer understanding and it's concise. And when it comes to token count, you'll be happy with that. So let's look at a real example related to some of the code I'm going to show you today. So if you look at a structured end prompt, an end-shot prompt, is the roles I'm still asking, the role as persona prompting, I'm actually telling AI who I am, an experienced C# backend developer. And then the task, of course, is what I want done. And then I provide context. The key here is this context has an example, break it down. There is no guesswork here from AI now. AI knows exactly what I'm looking for. It even talks about which controller to implement, the format I want to use, and any constraints. So at the very bottom, I might want I want date time, not just time or date. And again, this is just an example. It will be part of the slide deck as well. And just kind of a nutshell takeaway here. The main takeaway, quite simple here, is clear prompts produce better results. If you provide context and break those complex tasks into smaller steps, then you can use an organized prompt structure. So you guide AI this way, the outcome you get will be much more reliable. Talk about MCP real quick. The stands for Model Context Protocol. Basically, MCP gives you a standard way to share context with other large language models and extend GitHub Copilot by connecting it to existing systems or other systems. Allows agents to talk to agents if you think of it that way. You can create new tools and services plugged directly into these workflows. So the key shift on this and the key takeaway on this is that Copilot's no longer working in isolation on my local machine. I can actually talk to other agents. And we're going to see a demonstration of that today as well. I could, for instance, I could go out and look at a database structure if I needed to do something like that. So, and in the demos, I'll do the you're going to see some basic usage. But for instance, I can use this to talk into the GitHub world. I'm going to also talk to the Playwright MCP servers out there, and there's thousands of other servers we could connect to. But if you think of this, takeaway from this slide would be if you think of moving from a smart assist to a more of a connected teammate. So I talked about AI as a teammate. Now we have an AI as a teammate that has teammates. And we can actually do things in our code and our different tools. Enter GitHub Copilot, the coding agent itself. So again, the agent mode works great. It's fantastic. It works in my IDE. It can work at a CLI level. It's a real-time collaborator that will help me plan, act, and iterate as I work. While the coding agent itself on the right lives in github.com. So you can assign it issues. I can assign it code. I can create PRs. It'll create PRs for itself and then deliver its work through a pull request. Pull request works very much like every other pull request, but it's all done within, again, that's where coding agent does its best work. So what this slide is going to do is set the stage for how GitHub Copilot agents support in real development work from start to finish, not just writing code in isolation locally. So instead of helping with one step at a time, agents are basically, they stay involved across the entire flow. So they can help you with the planning of the work, creating the branches, writing code, testing that code, preparing the pull requests, whatever you happen to need here. So the idea here is to treat GitHub Copilot like a teammate. Again, AI teammate, you've heard me say that many times, not just a tool that you call and forget, or call once and forget it. So by the end of this webinar here, you're going to see how this covers it for the full loop. So from an issue all the way through merging and securing GitHub Copilot. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I will have some time at the end for any questions that are out here that are not answered. So as my whimsical story to show off some of the Copilot, GitHub Copilot, meet Gino. Gino makes incredible gelato. It's so good that the line never seems to end. So business is blooming for Gino, and orders keep coming in, and Gino realizes he needs a little help to keep up with some before he starts losing his sanity. So today's story is simple. Gino has a problem, and he's looking for a much better way to run things behind the scenes. So let me show you how Gino gets that help by using GitHub Copilot. If I jump in here, a couple things just to keep in mind. Extensions are important. So I'm going to go through some of the basics, and we're going to crawl, walk, run, sprint. Make sure that the extension is up to date. Again, these change all the time. Auto update, keep that checked. You will have better results here. Mine was just updated 3 days ago. So you want to definitely have that updated. The other lay of the land here is settings. So if I go into settings, I'll go like that, turn that on. If I go into settings and type in GitHub Copilot, there's 89 Copilot settings. If you're looking for present settings, cutting edge settings, experimental settings, these are things that engineers come up with that may or may not see the light of day, but they are presented here for us to play with. So for instance, I can go down and scroll through these files, for instance, instruction files. Now, this is a mainstream feature that allows you to guide Copilot. They guide Copilot with some guardrails and some specific instructions to help guide the AI as it's building and creating these responses for you. That's just one of many. And then there's other suggestions here. We can actually look at next edit suggestions, another tool here. And my only point of showing you this is to go through and at your leisure and check out some of these features. There's a lot here. Usually these are tagged unless it's changed. Sometimes you'll see them tagged with preview. So these are features that are coming out and probably will make mainstream at some future release. So these are fun to look at. And then there's some called experimental. They may or may not see the light of day. So one of those experimental features that I like to look at is called AI stats. Spell it right. There we go. AI stats is an experimental to basically show me, statistically speaking, in my editor, how much code I actually type versus how much AI is helping me. So I'm going to leave that on today, and we're going to see what we're going to do later. And so that was a fun one. So settings. Make sure your settings are up to date here. Quick tour here on the right-hand side is where we want chat. So we can say new chat. We can go back and look at specific, back in time at specific agent sessions that are here if we have any. And I can also click the gear in the upper right corner where we have different tools like creating custom agents, creating custom prompt files, skills files, instructions, and so forth. We're not going to look at too much of that today, but just keep in mind to go back and look at that. The other is what mode you're in. So I talked about 3 modes. There's the ask mode, and each mode has its own set of specific large language models here. This list has been consolidated recently. It used to be very long. Now I can actually click other models and get a scrollable list. So this is a new thing. Now back to the premium request on the right-hand side, that multiplier, very important to keep track of that. If I pick Claude Opus 6, notice it's 30x. 30x every time I call it, whenever I hit submit. So, and the point I'm showing you that is be careful when you switch over to something like agent mode. If you ask agent mode to do something, it might take 2, 3, 4 calls to get it done. And then the multiplier will, of course, each time agent mode calls a large language model, of course, it will basically use up your multipliers here. So I stay with 4.5 at the moment. You see it's 1x. And the other thing is added is where we run these commands. So you'll see me with local. Local is our normal running local thing, running GitHub Copilot locally. We're just working with different things. And then there's the cloud mode, which will be delegating things to the cloud coding agent. And of course, I can also delegate things to Copilot CLI. So we have very easy controls here to pick these. I'm going to keep it on local. And what I want to do is show you a couple basics of the basics here. So what I'm going to show you is full stack agent mode here. We're going to do agent mode. I'm going to actually type in a prompt. Now, again, this is a prompt that's engineered prompt. So the idea with Gino's Gelato is he wanted to build a website for selling ice cream. And the prompt is quite simple. He's described exactly what he wanted using the best practices for prompt engineering. So we're creating a full stack ice cream shop. Here's some core features that he wanted to have. He wants ice cream builder page. And the point I'm showing you is he's actually spelling it out, bullet items, grouping like items together, technical requirements. He knows what he wants to do. He talked to a couple buddies of his. He knows the user experience he wants. He wants his homepage, etc. So a simple prompt in agent mode can do wonderful things. And I can go ahead and submit that prompt. And what you'll see is agent mode. What you'll see is agent mode start telling me, breaking this work down and giving you a checklist of things what it's going to be working on. And another nice thing is agent mode will create a to-do list, which hovers right above the chat box here and walks through the different steps or different components that agent mode is working on. So while that's running, I won't make you watch all that. That will come eventually, a little bit of time here, right? Agent mode's not about speed. It's about getting something accurate for us. What you'll end up with a site that looks something like this. So I took that site, I took that prompt, and we end up with a site like this. Now, the site is quite simple, right? We want to buy ice cream, we want a waffle cone, we want a bowl, let's say a bowl of ice cream. And Gino wanted to let customers pick 3 flavors, so we can pick 3 flavors. Notice I can't add it to the cart if it's not picked. Again, that was all in the prompt that I just sent over to agent mode. And we want some toppings, of course. And that's what this looks like is, again, from the prompt, we suggested that. And then, of course, I can just go ahead and add it to the cart. So with not a lot of work, agent mode, of course, helped Gino build this website for him. But he had to do a little more. So let's go look at a little more back in the code itself. So eventually that prompt would, in the interest of time, I'm not going to walk through all that, but in the interest of time here, the code got generated by agent mode. And then we can start using things like this. I could start asking, Gino could come back as developers and we can use one of those agents called @workspace to make sure that the app was built into the specs that Gino thought it was going to be. So what he can do is use just a simple prompt to talk about the project domain. So we'll let that run for just a second here. And then, of course, a little work has to be done. So I'll just show you a couple basics of the basics here. So you can see in ask mode, it's very, very structured as far as what this application is doing. And this was per the prompt. So we're checking it on the other side. All right. So that said, if I wanted to go into the flavors controller, let's say, and I wanted to go to the bottom here and something like this, I could just simply ask, this file's open, right? I could just simply ask, I'll switch over to agent mode now. By the way, it's always a good idea to hit the new chat and clear the tokens. I'm going to ask agent mode to go like this and say, I want to add a new get endpoint for this controller with the following signature. So agent mode is going to look at the current controller, understand the structure, and then come up with some other suggestions it might have. So it was asking me what kind of endpoint I want. So this is where I would have a conversation with agent mode and go ahead and say, yeah, I want this kind of endpoint or that kind of endpoint. So we will skip this for right this minute. I'm going to go over to the helper function because Gino is quite successful. So what he'd like to do is create a new function. I can go down here and just use a comment. let's say we're not quite sure how to code it, I can just use a comment that says, I want to create a new function that applies a 10% discount for any given price that's returned here. So when I press enter, again, this is called comments to code, and Copilot will go out and generate, and it's going to generate it either line by line, depending on how you do this. So again, a very simple comment. Gino and team didn't even know how to have to code that. We can just use the comment like that. Another thing has been nice, if I go to the orders controller, so we had some issues in the orders controller. It's always good to add some try catch blocks for capturing things that might have broke. So for instance, in the create order controller, I could highlight this. Let's go like this, highlight this, and come over and ask agent mode to go ahead and add a try catch block to this create endpoint. I want to be able to capture any generic errors that are here. Again, agent mode will go ahead and do that and let it update for me. Let that go ahead and run. Oh, sorry about that. Let's go back. Whoops. What happens is basically the code is updated. I have a selection as a developer to accept that code, change that code, keep it, or undo it. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it. I come from the verify, but I trust, but I do verify. I would probably create some unit tests to make sure this is tested, or at least some UI automation tests to make sure this is done, which is where we're headed next. All right, so last thing I would want to do here, if I wanted to, we looked at the website. I'll show it to you again real quick. The website doesn't look too shabby, or it doesn't look too bad. But again, if you had a different thought in mind, you could actually ask agent mode something like this. Say, hey, the website looks ugly, or I need the website to be nicer or prettier or whatnot. I can make it beautiful and user friendly, etc. I can start describing in natural language what I want that website to look like. So that has been applied already, and that's why that website does look pretty decent. So let's go back and continue our story. So Gino has great success, but of course, with success comes other problems. So the gelato is still amazing, but now the line stretches down the block. And when Gino looks around at everybody, he's seeing that there's people staring at their phones. And then it clicks. What if people could order ahead? And what if, so while Gino's basically continuing to serve gelato, he can ask questions behind the scenes and have things worked on for him. And by the time he's ready to check back, there's something waiting for him to review. So that's the idea. Have agent mode, his AI teammate, do some work for him, which will create shorter lines for him and of course happier customers. That means Gino has more time to make this delicious gelato. So let's go look at that. What I want to show you next is some of the agent mode capabilities. So if I go back and let me close these files real quick here like this, clean this up a little bit. There's a file that when you're using agent mode, there's a file called agent.md here. Let me clear the screen and give some screen space here. An agent file will, when you're using agent mode, if it looks for an agent.md file, which is Markdown. And these basically are guidelines for agents to follow. And think of it as instructions or some specs on what agents should do and how they should follow. So if, for instance, if I were testing something, these are the guidelines I want agent mode to create while testing. In this case, I'm using Playwright. These are the selectors I want Copilot to build for me when I'm using. So again, these are just patterns. These are bulleted items for me for agent mode to follow as well, and any coding standards I might have. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and show off a little bit of MCP servers. By the way, to jump back a little bit here, you can go to the extensions. This is quite simple. If you start searching for MCP servers, keep in mind you don't want to just search for MCP servers. You want to use the actual @MCP server. So GitHub has made this quite simple for us. When you use the @MCP servers, I can actually find the servers I'm looking for. So if I wanted to say I wanted to type in Git Jira install or something like that, I could go here. Keep in mind these MCP servers you have to be authenticated. I need a license, etc. Of course, I don't for this one, so I'm going to go like this and say, how about GitHub? And then I can install GitHub. I could say Playwright. I think I have already installed that one. And you can see it's installed. So it's quite simple to get these started or to get them installed. Once they're installed, I can actually, looking at, let's go like this. There we go. I can type in MCP and list my servers so I can see what's running. And of course, in order to communicate with other services, I have to start these servers. So if I want to, I can go ahead and start this one. I can even show it in the configuration. My suggestion is keep these at the roaming or app data. So no matter what other projects I open, I can use the MCP servers this way, and they're configured. What's nice is even in the JSON file, I can go ahead and start. And I can see there's 43 tools. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Let me go back and start the other one. Go ahead and start Playwright. I'll start it right from the menu itself. So now I have these servers running. Clear the screen a little bit here. So what I want to do now is use the power of agent mode and MCP's testing to build a simple end-to-end test for me. So what I can do is prompt. Of course, there's a prompt, right? We're going to use an agent prompt, and I'm going to show you. Let's just make sure the websites are here running. Yep. So the prompt is this. I'm actually saying, hey, to Copilot to explore this site, and I want simple instructions. Open up a visible browser and start walking through the gelato ordering flow like a real customer would. And I'm also telling Copilot I don't like waffle cones. Now, that's not really true. I do like waffle cones, but in the interest of showing how Copilot can differentiate this, I'm saying I don't like waffle cones. And I'm asking Copilot to click through the UI step by step and narrating the steps as it goes, and then to show me a high-level summary. Now what you'll see, agent mode, you'll see agents connect to the other site and open up the browser and start walking through it and ordering an actual ice cream. And hopefully not select waffle cone. Now again, this isn't about speed. This is more about accuracy. And to recap, the agent file itself .md markdown I put in some rules about how to create good Playwright tests. So it's following those as instructions. And it's going to do a complete checkout. So I think I even said make up information about checkout, credit card numbers. I usually ask somebody that I work with, they can toss the credit card number in the chat. We can use that, but agent mode will figure it out. It'll make it up. So at this point, I almost have a full order end-to-end using Playwright and the MCP server. When I'm done, it's a very structured server. I can run it over and over again. If I come back in here and look, it should have been right. Well, I'll let it finish. I'm rushing this a little bit. It's called, it's on the right, it's creating a TypeScript file called the Gelato order. And it'll actually be in the end-to-end folder. If I cannot find it, here we go, right there. It wants to, by the way, agent mode, of course, if you're doing some sort of task that requires authentication, it's asking allow the session. I could also say allow always and keep the file. So agent mode now can create that file sitting into in the folder itself. And you'll see the summary of agent mode. Hey, I created this new Playwright test that mirrors a full no waffle cone order. So it did respect the fact that I didn't want waffle cone, which is good. And it created a called order gelato spec. Why it didn't put it there is, put it in test, that's fine. And the test looks like this. Again, I can specify any language I want. I specified default in TypeScript, of course. That's the richest language to use for Playwright in the first place. So I have the thing, now I can go ahead and add asserts. I could record this by manually. I could move it into my test folder and actually run it right in the UI like this. If I run it now, again, I'm in the process of building this. I could actually run the test again in the editor. So I have full debug capabilities here using Playwright at the moment. And I could also adjust this test going through Playwright MCP servers by just using asking agent mode to do it for me. Okay, let's look at another thing here. This prompt was basically asking Copilot to do exploring, and you're left to whatever agent mode will come up with, of course, and the MCP server, Playwright server. So I'm going to go like this and say, just to show you a prompt, I won't actually run this in the interest of time. I know we're going to run out of time here. This is a very similar prompt, except I'm actually walking it through on, hey, I'm a customer, I want to do this. I want to click that. I want strawberry. I want gummy bears. I want to view the cart results. I want in-store pickup, and describing exactly what I want agent mode to build, and it will go out and build the TypeScript test for me automatically. So again, just a difference in letting it do exploratory testing and then giving it specifics. Difference in how that works. Another slight example would be like this. I could say create an end-to-end test. Very, very, very similar. So we won't go back through that again. Another thing I want to do is show how I can actually integrate with, I have these great ideas. Gino wants some work done to be so busy he doesn't have time. So what he's going to do is use, he's going to create an issue for in his GitHub repo. And it's quite simple here. I'm going to create a, the customers always want to be able to toggle dark mode, light mode, your typical app. So Gino's not going to hand code that. We're going to create an issue. And basically the command is, hey, I'm going to create a new GitHub issue for this repository, title it, give it a description, give it some features, and give it some acceptance criteria and so forth. And then I can go ahead and submit that. Because I have the GitHub MCP server running, agent mode will communicate with my GitHub repo and create that for me. And we'll go check it, make sure it works. You can see right here, it ran across the issue. Told me what it's going to do. It should return the actual issue number, which is now 26. If I wanted to see what else was out there, I could ask agent mode to list all the issues labeled this way. I could list them for maybe the ones that are assigned to me, however I want to do that. But I can stay heads down in Visual Studio while I do this now. I don't have to go out there. I see I have 3 of them. If I go back to that website, I would expect to see that new issue. Let's go here. What's nice is the issue sitting here, number 26. So I created this from VS Code, and I can continue heads down to VS Code without having to come back here. I could even assign this to agent mode if I wanted to, or coding agent if I wanted to do something like that, to go ahead and implement this issue. Now, I'm not going to jump into that just yet here. But I mentioned, that Gino, of course, was busy and he wanted to be able to take care of these lines. So what he's going to do is build this new backend feature and then delegate that feature out to a coding agent. Go like this. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clear the prompt. So the prompt is this. I'm going to ask HMO to add a small queue implementation to the backend tracking. So there's order prep times now. I'm asking Copilot to go ahead and create a store management. And what basically saying this allows people that are waiting to order on their phones with an estimated time to wait. So simple instructions to agent mode, show me the design implementation as a to-do list and implement this. Now, if I went ahead and kept this locally and submitted that prompt, agent mode will start working on this locally. Now remember, Gino's time is valuable, so we don't want to sit here and watch this do this. So what I'm going to do is stop that, and I'm going to clear that prompt. I'm going to switch over to Cloud, which is the coding agent at github.com. Now if I actually paste that same prompt in there, I can actually delegate this to the cloud. Copilot's aware that I made changes and asking me, hey, is it okay if I'll commit these changes and delegate these together? Sure, why not? And it pushes them to the cloud now, and now I again frees up my IDE to go do something else. You'll see it come across as work in progress. There are tools, very rich set of tools in VS Code that I can actually monitor that work in progress. If I go back to the UI and go to the pull request, you'll see that work in progress here. Coding agent is now working on that. And this is one of those I'll come back later type of thing, but you can also view sessions as a coding agent. So now I have that autonomous pair programmer that working for me. I can come back here in half hour or so and have this new feature implemented for me. I can simply do a pull request back down to my machine, of course, build it, run it, test it, always important. So this isn't really meant to be watched. You could watch it if you wanted to, but we're going to go back. So they're called WIP, work in progresses. What's nice too is if I forgot something, I could come down here and say, hey, at Copilot, and then ask your question. This has been updated fairly recent where I can actually switch models in for the coding agent itself. It defaults right now to Claude Sonnet 4.6. So I could ask Copilot to add an additional feature, or I forgot a column or whatever the request is here. I don't have any at the moment. I'll leave that go. The next thing I want to show is basically creating a very structured business prompt. So let me go like this. Go back here. I'm going to clear this out. That last prompt is asking me if I want to check it out, as in check the code out from the work in progress branch. I'll say no. I'm going to go back to local mode. Clear that prompt. Maybe go like that. What I want to do is create another issue. I want to create this new GitHub repo issue. I need an order queue. We talked about the order queue. We talked about customers and waiting in line. So let's just create this new functionality. And I'm describing it as a real-time ordering queue monitoring and analytics dashboard for Gino. It can create real-time quick queue visualization so we can see the number of orders we have, whether they want pickup time, deliveries, etc. I want the ability to export these reports in CSV, of course. And I'm going to go ahead and delegate that up to the cloud. And then I'm going to actually not go back to the prompt. I'm going to actually go delegate it right from VS Code after it's created. You can see issue number 28 was created for me. I could get any information I want about number 28. I know it's there. So what I can do is now just ask Copilot to basically assign that new issue the order queue time report issue. I'm going to go like this, be more explicit. I'm going to say number 28. I can't use hashtag. Number 28 to the coding agent and start development work. So again, hands off. Of course, Copilot's asking me for permission to do that. And now I'll go back and show you that it actually got assigned correctly. It's creating a PR, so it assigned the Copilot to issue number 28. So we go take a peek at 28 real quick. We'll look at order number 28. You'll see it added the correct labels. It added the real-time information here as basically requirements. You can see it assigned the project to myself, of course, and Copilot. And you'll see there is a work in progress in order here. And again, if I forgot something that's really nice, I can go back and ask Copilot, hey, I forgot to add something. And Copilot will basically make it part of the PR. So at this point, Gino is pretty happy with all what's going on. He'll come back later this evening after his day and go look at the PR requests. He'll pull them back down to VS Code, build them, and make sure they're working all right. One last thing here is, so now that Gino solved this ordering problem, there's one more challenge, is every time he adds new features or whatnot, he breaks something else. So what he wants to do is implement some automated testing and automated CI/CD deployment using best DevOps best practices. So what Gino does is he sets up this automated UI test using the Playwright, the Microsoft Playwright framework. So now every day, GitHub Actions will run a full UI test for him on a schedule or whenever he wants it. And what's nice about that, when the pipeline runs automatically, it'll capture any failures and generate this wonderful dashboard that Gino can easily follow as well. So Gino doesn't just ship code anymore. He watches for these testing trends and flaky tests and whatnot. So let's go look at that. So what Gino did was implement this deployment. He runs his website. Of course, he runs it on Azure, but he runs the infrastructure. He does the build, test, deploy, front end, back end, and then he runs Playwright tests. He gets this report every day. Of course, if there's something failure, he can go down and look at the summaries below the reports themselves for the GitHub Action workflow. He can also go into the specific tests. It's important to run tests, run these UI automation tests. I show you how we build them. Now there's basically automatically included. As he builds more tests or more functionality, the tests are just automatically included with the pipeline, the deployment pipeline. So right now he's running 25 tests. But this is difficult for him to go see. So what Gino did was ask Agent Mode to build him a dashboard, is what he did. And the dashboard looks something like this. So Gino's Gelato now has the ability to look at the number of test runs. How are we averaging, right? We passing, failing, whatnot. And you can get these nice trends now and look at these test durations and whatnot and get view reports. So it makes it super easy for Gino to work with this data. So for instance, if you wanted to see, if you wanted to go into one of these reports, let's say you want to look at this one, because boy, 68%, that's interesting. The nice thing about Playwright will post the reports themselves as HTML. So now we can look at all the different passing tests, which they're supposed to pass, so we won't worry about that. We can say which tests are failing, and we can look at the flaky tests. So what's nice about the flaky tests, or any failing test in Playwright, Gino doesn't have to look over the shoulder of the tester, or doesn't have to be present while testing. Gino has the ability to look over their shoulder later and see what actually happened. And the way this works is if it ran and failed, that's not what's supposed to happen, but there's always a retry. What's nice about Playwright, a retry will include a trace file. And sure, it tells me whereabouts it's failing, but and then basically the test steps tell me what line it failed at as well. But what's really slick is I can open up the trace file. And then at the very top, we can do this time travel debugging, they call it, where I can actually hover my mouse over there and look at the state of the test during each click, during each step. And see where and when and why it failed. So it's a recording, every step of the way. Gino can also go in here and look at the actual code at the very bottom and see the line 134. If he wanted to, he could look at network traffic, looking at graphics and whatnot at the time of it happened. If he really wanted to go to this point in time where it failed, which would be right here, he could open up another browser tab that will pull in all the different DOM elements. And then as he hovers over these, he can actually get that specific slice of data at that moment. So as far as debugging tests go, he's quite happy with this. Let's go back. All right. So in a nutshell, Gino went from 0 to autonomous quickly, and I walked through how you got there. But he started from scratch. He took that one prompt, created it, asked to build the website, make it prettier, make it more modern, give me modal boxes, etc. And then behind the scenes, of course, he used different tools to plan the work, explore the app, and then using real-time customer behavior into the automated checks. And then he also used the agent mode behind the scenes, using Coding Agent to help him build different features and functionality, like toggling things to dark or using the queuing system, things like that. If we had more time, we could pull that back down, compile it, and watch it work. But when the bottom line here is when the work got bigger, Gino was still busy. So he handed all that work off to agent mode. And he came back later for something really cool to review, and even wired it up with automated testing so he could tell whether a new feature was working automatically. Takeaway here, start simple, get help at the right moments, and then let autonomy scale the rest without Gino losing his mind or losing control. And that is my whimsical Gelato story, from 0 assisted to autonomous. Quick takeaways here. AI for just AI coding, what works best. AI really does speed you up, but you're still in charge. You're the boss. You're the pilot. You're using Copilot as an assistant and an AI teammate. You guide it, you review it, but you are still in charge of the commit. Your name's on the commit, not Copilot. The other is security does come first. I do trust, but I do verify, and I verify with unit testing. I also build Playwright automation tests if it's UI related. So it's always important to, yes, use AI as a tool. You can trust it, but make sure you build and compile it. AI responses are not always accurate. Expertise, your expertise matters. Again, AI is not going out and building this Gino's Gelato website and with queuing systems and reporting and things like that. It won't do that. I have to be the domain expert. I know what I want. I know what Gino wants. It's our vision, developers' vision, to make this better. So keep that in mind as well, and iterate and learn. I don't know of anyone that actually takes the first answer you get from AI. It's important as coding with AI to experiment and improve as you're going forward. Sometimes you can push back on an AI and ask, why did it come up with what it came up with? I push back all the time and say, hey, there's a better way. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Sometimes you can ask AI to ask you questions as well to further and get better responses back. So these are some of the high-level takeaways. In the end of the stack, you have some references here as well. One of my favorites is the second one from the bottom. So at Xebia, there's many consultants all working in AI, and many consultants post all kinds of blog posts and articles and white papers, etc. So you want to learn more, there's a lot of great information there as well. That said, I want to thank everybody for spending the time today to watch this webinar and walk through the Gino's Gelato and how he became famous. He thanks you and I thank you. So have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. That said, I'm going to go. Any questions are in the queue. I'll look real quick here. I don't think there's any questions. If there are questions, you come off mute, but I know we only have a couple minutes left. So again, thank you all. Have a great rest of your day, a great weekend.